My name is Will Jeffwitz, and I'm Head of Policy at the National Housing Federation. And I'm joined today by Helen Collins, who's Head of Affordable Housing Consultancy at Savills. And importantly, this year, Helen will be chairing the conference, our asset management conference in October at the Coventry Building Society Arena. So we've got huge amounts lined up for the conference, which we'll talk through with Helen in a bit more detail in a second. We're covering decarbonisation, the route to warmer, greener homes for residents, the building safety bill and the implications for our homes, decent home standard review, surveying and asset information, strategic stock evaluation, resident engagement and culture change, which is obviously a crucial part of the kind of overall asset management function. How to access funding, use of new technology, whole range of things across the 2 days to inform and entertain delegates, who will be a mix of asset management and maintenance professionals, senior housing leaders, and politicians as well. So a huge amount to look forward to across the 2 days, and I'm certainly looking forward to it, and I know Helen is too. So welcome, Helen. I think the first question for you is just looking back really over the last 18 months, 2 years. It's been a while since we last all met in person for the asset management conference, I think almost 2 years ago. So what have you seen change in that time, both for the sector, but I guess specifically for the asset management function, and what do you see the are on the horizon?
Thanks, Will, and I'm really looking forward to chairing the conference. We've a number of us from Savills have been attending the conference for years now, and always find it a really useful event. Particularly looking forward to seeing people in person this time, so we're very excited about that. In terms of the last 18 months. I've worked in the affordable housing sector for a long time now, over 25 years, and I can honestly say that the last 18 months have been some of the most interesting and challenging in equal measure. And we've seen a huge amount of change. When you sort of cast your mind back over the last 5 or 10 years, we've got things like, the global financial crisis, and then we've got the rent cut of 2015, which were big events, but they were relatively singular. Whereas now we've just got this layering effect of so much change at the same time. We're still living through the COVID pandemic. We've got the social housing white paper and a stronger consumer focus. Building safety's raced up the agenda, zero carbon. And then on the development side, we've got strategic partnerships. So, at a sort of sector level, that is a huge amount to get to grips with. And, I haven't even mentioned some of the new entrants and the for-profits that are making themselves known in a much bigger way now. But when we look at the asset management function in particular, there are a few things that I'd highlight. And speaking to colleagues in the business that are working with housing associations, one of the things that consistently comes up is data. The quality of the underlying data, given the sort of weight and importance of the strategic decisions that landlords are looking to make about investing in their stock, then the underlying data has to be reliable. There has to be trust in it. So that we're talking a lot about data quality, improving the data. We know that the regulator's really focused on that. Also building safety, and I've touched on it already. It's not new, but over the last 18 months, I think the sector's done a really good job of getting to grips with building safety. But there are still challenges out there, particularly around tall buildings, where there is cost uncertainty and there are some viability challenges around some specific spend. Zero C, we're going to talk a lot about that. Again, good progress on getting a handle on costs. So that's been a big change. It wasn't with us a couple of years ago. The government hadn't made the commitment, so that's fast. And then, during COVID in particular, we found landlords were very focused on asset strategies. And I think it was because of this combination of pressures on the business plan and the particular focus on assets that naturally there's been a stronger strategic focus. And if we look forward, I think it's, to be honest, it's more of the same because these are big sort of long running features. But I'd highlight another couple of things for the next 18 months. And one is, a stronger resident focus for asset managers. How do we involve the consumer and the tenants? There's a clear expectation around that, but I think there's more work to be done there, strengthening the tenant's voice. And then the other one, I think, is around skills and materials shortages and rising labour costs. We're talking about it more and more now. It's really starting to make its presence felt in terms of staff recruitment within housing associations, but also the supply chain. And I think that's going to get worse before it gets better. Lots to go at the conference.
Thanks, Helen. Yeah, it's like you say, it's been a sort of action-packed 18 months, and there's no sign of it letting up anytime soon. Is there? A lot to debate and engage in at the conference. What are you most looking forward to over the 2 days? Is there anything etched into your calendar already?
Well, I was keenly watching the social plans for the Tuesday evening, so we'll be participating enthusiastically in those. But I mean, in terms of content, it's a really strong conference programme. I'm really looking forward to three of the sessions in particular sort of stood out for me. So picking up on what I was just saying around a stronger consumer focus, around the asset, implementing asset strategies involving customers, particularly given decarbonisation and the challenges potentially of getting to grips with new technology. I'm looking at the asset management through the customer lens session. That looks great, with Ian and Teresa and Catherine Ryder. So looking forward to that on the Tuesday. And then, I would never miss a session by a regulator or an ombudsman. So, Richard Blakeway, tackling damp and mould. It's not the most rock and roll of session titles, is it? But the nuts and bolts, it's the simple things that are so important that often when they go wrong, that's when customers get upset and annoyed. That's where things hit the headlines. So I'm very interested to attend Richard's session. And then Matt Harrison from Bays is coming along on Wednesday, speaking about the decarbonisation programme. We're still in the foothills here. The title is more than a box-ticking exercise. Well, it certainly is more than a box-ticking exercise, isn't it? There's a huge amount of practicalities to get to grips with. So I know that he's relatively new to Bays. Looking forward to that session and seeing where MHCLG thinking is getting up to and what's coming out of the pilot so far.
Thanks, Helen. And yeah, I agree. All of those sound fascinating, and lots more besides. And that last one you mentioned on decarbonisation is obviously a huge issue for a huge challenge, but also a huge opportunity for the sector, over the next few decades, really, let alone the next few years. And we're really pleased to be doing a bit of work with Savills on that. Which I think we'll be able to discuss to some extent at this conference, but we'll be launching at our summit also a bit later on in October. So it's great to be working with Savills on that. Are you able to say a bit, sort of following on that theme, are you able to say a bit about the work that Savills is doing within your own organisation on decarbonisation and sustainability, and perhaps also how you're working with housing associations on that?
Yeah, thanks, Will. Savills is a big business. There's about 7,000 of us in the business, and we work out of 127 offices. We're organised in 17 different business streams, very, very diverse, and about 400 service lines. So, just as a business, our UK carbon footprint is considerable. So we've set our own UK strategy to be a zero carbon emission business by 2030. And we're doing, we've sort of set our targets for that around the world. Green Building Council's net zero carbon for buildings commitment, and the UN's wider sustainability goals. So it's framed, around sort of global commitments, really, but within a UK perspective. So on a practical level, like housing associations, like a lot of our clients, we're really focused on decarbonising our buildings and reducing the energy use there, using green energy tariffs where we can, and that's going really well. Some of the highlights from our corporate responsibility strategy from last year, we've got 85% of electricity from green tariffs now, which is a good start, and we've reduced our carbon emissions by about 36%. Simple things again. 65% paper reduction. Every little helps. We've got forestry teams who have helped support planting 5 million trees in the UK over the last 12 months. So it's around woodland creation projects. And really interestingly, started to talk increasingly to our housing association clients around offsetting strategies. Very, very early days, but things like investing in forestry are coming up for discussion, which is, fascinating. And we've consulted on 9 gigawatts of renewable energy projects by our teams that are energy specialists that work in that field. And then bringing it back to affordable housing, my colleagues John Kiley and John Barnes lead on a lot of our work around energy studies and decarbonisation strategies. And they've done about 50 energy studies now with housing associations and local authorities on over 800,000 homes, as you know. And that work is feeding into the work we're doing together on the funding options for decarbonisation. So it's absolutely core business. As colleagues in the industry will know, we've worked with landlords alongside landlords for years to help do stock condition surveys and understand the investment needs of stock with past programmes like Decent Homes, delivering things like that. So we've done a lot of energy studies. John is working with landlords on 5 social housing decarbonisation fund pilots as well. So we're looking at the learning coming out from that. And then the asset performance team are looking at the sort of long-term performance, the impact on financial and socio-economic performance of zero carbon. And again, modelled nearly 1 million homes. So this is right at the core of what we do. It drives a huge amount of our business and our engagement with landlords. So it's massively important to us, and really exciting times at the moment. Lots to think about and do.
Great, thanks, Helen. I think it feels like there's potentially never been a more important or a higher profile time for the asset management function. It kind of sits at the heart of all the major challenges facing the sector at the moment, whether it's building safety or climate change or resident engagement and quality, more widely. So a great time to be all getting together in Coventry and talk through some of these issues and hear from some experts and some external people as well. Thank you for taking the time to join me in this conversation. Very much appreciated, and look forward to seeing you, Helen, at the conference, and look forward to welcoming everyone back to Coventry on the 12th and 13th of October for the Asset Management and Maintenance Conference and Exhibition 2021.
Thanks, Will. Looking forward to it.